So we're back for another episode of Lovecraft Country, and this one, a lot to unpack. Maybe not one of my favorite episodes, but there's a lot going on. What's going on, everyone? My name is Leo Rydell, and this is Geekly Goods, where we talk the latest in movies, TV shows, with a sprinkle of anime and gaming. We also do food, rankings, reactions. Guys, come on back to the channel if you like that content by hitting that subscribe button and thumbs upping this video, and let's talk about Lovecraft Country, Episode 7. Which, like I said, a lot to unpack. Now, the last couple of episodes have been very character-focused, with Episode 5 being about Ruby, Episode 6 very much focusing on Tick and the new character, and then this episode focusing on Hippolyta, which is Tick's aunt, George's wife. This is a lot. There's a lot going on in this episode that I think is really awesome, and then some things that I think maybe were a bit of a miss. So let's start with what I think is good. So Hippolyta finally figures out that puzzle that she's trying to put together that looks like a bunch of different planets in orbit, and that leads her to a location that takes her into another world, if you will. And also, early on in the episode, we get a moment between Tick and his father, Montrose, which is very heated in a sense. It's very tense. We know that Montrose and Sammy are very much a couple, or kind of at least messing around at this point. And I don't want to spoil, but there is a moment in this episode where him and Tick have this very intense moment, and I just got to give a round of applause to Jonathan Majors and Michael K. Williams. Great acting in that moment. I loved how tense it felt, how it transcended through screen. Really liked that moment a lot. And of course, we have Letty. There's something going on with her in this episode that we find out. And again, not gonna spoil, guys. I want you to watch the episode and you let me know what you think. But man, her and Ruby get a couple moments in this episode as well, and they start to make up for sure, but there are all these references about their mother that I want to hear more about. Like, you know, they talk about mother did this, mother was this way, that way. I want to hear, like, or maybe even see a scene with them younger, with the mother. Like, I want to see. There's a lot of explaining, and it seems like their mother may somehow hook into the story a little bit. I don't know. But Tick's mother is who's connected to the Braithwaites, and we see that she actually had like a tattoo that matches Tick's on his back. That's as far as I'm going in terms of spoilers, but we start to learn a little bit more about that relationship there. We also get a small piece with Christina kind of explaining what's going on with William and how that even happened. I mean, it's still incredibly bizarre, that entire storyline. But besides that, most of this is about Hippolyta, and like I said, she goes to another world where there's this crazy CGI, and there's this crazy woman in like a robotic suit with an afro, and she kind of jumps around in time, in different parts of time, and I really like this episode, but whereas last episode felt out of left field, but in a good way, this one feels slightly weaker in terms of being out of left field. I mean, it kind of just like takes us out of that Tick, Letty, discovering the Book of Names plotline and kind of introduces something that, I don't know, seems maybe a little unnecessary. Like, this episode very much reminded me of episode 2 a little bit, in that the sci-fi and the extraterrestrial was just so heavy that it was a little bit jarring. And while I did like her going in different places in time, I maybe didn't like some of the like super sci-fi stuff. And I'm a sci-fi fan. I love sci-fi, but there's some of it that maybe was just a little bit much. I don't know. It was just kind of so out of left field that it made me feel a little jarred, that I was kind of getting to a point in the episode where I was like, okay, when are we going to get back to Tick and Letty and discovering the Book of Names and what's going on with his mom? So again, this episode, the pacing is maybe be the problem. I would think it's just kind of the writing here. There's just so much going on, and there's another question that's raised out of the end of this episode. And seeing as this is episode 7 out of a 10-episode season, I truly believe they're going to stretch this out to be at least 2 to 3 seasons, and that we're gonna hopefully bridge some gaps here, because this ending left me like a little bit confused. I thought something was going to happen and it didn't. Again, I don't want to spoil, but Hippolyta is very much like traveling through these different time periods, and again, really like that. But some of the CGI looked a little hokey to me. Like, I was kind of like, okay, they got to this one point where they were on a completely different planet with these green creatures, and I thought that looked a little bad. I'm not even gonna front here. I thought that didn't look too good, and that might be some of the issues of Lovecraft Country. Every episode is just so self-contained sometimes that some of the episodes feel a little jarring. Like episode 2 felt like just a little bit too much. This episode might feel a little bit the same. I kind of get the same vibes, even though I don't think it's as bad of an episode as episode 2. I still kind of get those vibes where it's kind of jarringly out of nowhere, and it just feels, I don't know, unbalanced with the rest of the series. It just kind of felt a little bit off to me, but there are a lot of things that I did like, and there are some great messages in this episode. Hippolyta goes and becomes a warrior in one part of the episode, and who she's fighting and what that's all about and how it ties into a moment earlier in the episode was amazing to me. Like I liked seeing Hippolyta in that light and getting to be like a strong female warrior. That was awesome. But again, it seems just a little jarring and out of nowhere when we were very much on course to figure out more about the Book of Names and what's going on with Tick and Letty and a little bit more about Tick's backstory and the Braithwaite. So again, just some kind of jarring stuff. But I really liked episode 6 for the fact that it showed us who Tick was before he got into the main series. You know, it showed him in the war. I kind of liked that. It felt a little more connected to me, and this, I don't know how this is going to connect. It's another one where I'm kind of just like, okay, lots of questions here. What's going on? What was that? What happened? And then there's something in this series that maybe is just a little off to me, and that's the convenience factor. There are moments in this series where characters like Tick, and this time Hippolyta, figure things out a little too easily, in my opinion. Like, things are just very convenient, and this was another episode example. Another example was the Indiana Jones kind of vibed episode, which I think was episode 5. Yeah, it was episode 5 when they were exploring the museum. He was just able to kind of figure things out, and I was like, all right, that seems oddly convenient. Kind of get a little bit of that here as well with Hippolyta. I mean, look, I know that they're both brilliant, but it seems like, okay, how did you figure that out? How do you know these things? Like, give us a little bit more oomph or a little more backstory on that, on how they would be able to figure something like that out, because I was just so confused following them along. I was like, okay, how would somebody be able to like put something like that together? I understand that she was uttering different equations and things, but I don't know, guys. You guys got to let me know. What did you think about this episode? Look, I don't think it was the worst by any means, but it maybe wasn't one of my favorite episodes. I really liked episode 6, really liked 5. I thought 4 was pretty strong, and I think 4 might have been the museum episode. I thought 4 was all right. 3 was great. 2, the weakest of the season to me, with 1 being still the best episode, guys. You all let me know, A, what's your ranking of the season so far, because we're up to 7 episodes and we're almost there, and B, what's your thought about this episode? What did you think? Did you think it was a little too much Hippolyta? Did you think maybe like these things kind of came out of left field? Or did you love it? Did you love kind of sidebarring again? Because I felt like last episode was such an out of left field episode that we should have kind of smoothed over and got back to the main story in this one. But hey, I did like it. Of course, I'm very much enjoying the series so far. Y'all let me know your thoughts down in the comments though, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more reviews on Lovecraft Country, movies, TV shows, with a sprinkle of anime and gaming, guys, and we will see you next time.